this tutorial, we're going to look at how to complete a product analysis for a food item. Now, there's a number of different reasons why it's important to learn how to complete a product analysis as a research tool. It is a really handy form of research. It's going to help you with your ideas going forward. By completing a product analysis, we can gain an insight into what sorts of products are already available to us. So for example, if you were opening a bakery, you might complete product analysis on other bakery items from a bakery in your local area. It can also help to inspire us by giving us some good ideas as to where we might like to start with our own design ideas for our products. Now, for our product analysis, we're going to be using an acronym to help you complete a full and detailed product analysis. Our analysis is a written document, and we use the acronym ACCESS-FM, with each letter standing for something different. Aesthetics, customer, cost, environment, safety, size, function, and materials, or in this instance, ingredients. I'm going to explain each of those in detail to help you with your next task. Aesthetics is basically a longer word for describing how a product looks. If we say that something is aesthetically pleasing, for example, we're saying that it looks good. We like the way that it looks. So when we describe the aesthetics of a product, whatever product that might be, we're describing and using descriptive language to describe exactly how it looks. That could be the colours, the textures, the theme, the shape, for example. When we look at the C for customer, we're starting to think about who our target market is. By having a good idea as to who the customer is, what particular type of person wants that product, we have a better idea as to how to design that product. So if you were thinking about designing your own food item like a cake, you'd first need to consider who you're designing it for, because different people or different groups of people like different things. For example, a teenage girl might have a very different idea as to what they would want a birthday cake to look like compared to a 50-year-old man. It's possible to have several target markets grouped together as well. If we're looking at an existing product and we know the cost of that item, that's great research. However, you can also give an estimate into the cost. You could consider perhaps the ingredients that have been used, the size of it, how much time it might have taken to make it, and any packaging that it's been packaged within, and give a justified estimate as to how much you think that item would be to purchase. This is also something you need to think about when you're making your own products. Environment. More and more consumers are considering our impact on the environment and whether or not we have a positive or negative impact on the environment. Now with food, we can consider the environment by perhaps using more sustainable ingredients, or ingredients that haven't travelled as far. For example, those that are in season and don't need importing. But also in packaging. Is the container recyclable? Is it from locally sourced materials, or can it be recycled? These are all things you'll need to think about when you're presenting your food items. Now, safety within product design generally refers to safety to protect customers, and this is the same for food, but it's in a slightly different format. When buying a product from a shop, you might need to consider whether or not it's got any safety issues such as loose parts for choking hazards or sharp edges. But with food, we have to think about food safety. So for example, food poisoning or allergens. Now the size of product can be measured in millimetres for accuracy. But with food, you could also consider the portions and how many people it would serve. So for example, you could say, instead of this cake is big, you could talk about how many people would serve. It has 12 portions. The function of food obviously is to be eaten and might be for nutritional value, but especially with cakes, for example, that's not always the case. So you might need to consider what its purpose. Is it to celebrate a birthday? And materials, we'll substitute this word for ingredients. What is it made from? Be specific. We're going to look at an example cake so we can have a trial at this. So here we've got a really colourful birthday cake. So I'm already starting to talk about the aesthetics. I consider it to be a birthday cake because it's a large cake. And this actually falls into the function of Access FM. So we'll touch upon that in a bit. But aesthetically, I really like the way this cake looks. It's really colourful. There's lots going on. It's got different layers. It's got different textures and bright colours. So I've described how it looks. The customer, who do I think would enjoy this cake? I don't think this cake has been designed for an 80-year-old person. I think this has been designed for a younger person. And you could argue that because it uses blue and pink icing, it could have been designed for either a girl or a boy. It might even be designed for twins who are celebrating their birthday together, maybe a sister and a brother. The cost of this cake, well, if this was made for someone specifically, so it was a one-off item, that's going to increase the cost. Now, it looks a pretty special cake. I don't think it's one that's been purchased from a supermarket. So I think that the cost of this would be at least £30. Environment. So by the looks of this cake, there aren't many materials that have been used that are going to harm the environment. So for example, there are paper cupcake cases that could be recycled, and it's been presented on a plate that presumably would be reused. There's nothing that's going to be going straight to landfill. So I would consider this cake has had a positive impact on the environment rather than a negative. Now, safety. Obviously we don't know because we didn't cook the cake, but my statement would be that the baker would need to have considered high standards of hygiene, especially as this cake is the size as such that it's safe to assume it's being shared amongst a lot of people. So they would needed to have followed high and strict hygiene rules, and they probably would have asked if anybody had any allergies before they started making it. The size of this cake, well, looking at it on top, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can see 6 cupcakes. There's possibly 7 or 8 cupcakes. So straight away, it's going to serve at least 8 people. Plus you've got the base below, and I would say that could serve another 12 people. So I'd say that this cake is portioned to serve comfortably 20 people. So suitable for a party. And this is where the function comes into play. This is not just something to be eaten as part of a dinner or just a standard dessert. This is a celebratory cake. This has a function to celebrate someone's birthday, I would guess at. And then materials. So we're substituting this word for ingredients because this is a food item. So again, we're making statements based on what we can see rather than what we can know. But I can see that straight away there's a chocolate sponge element, there's chocolate drizzle, so chocolate sauce on it, there's buttercream that's been used, different food colourings, and I can also see perhaps some fondant icing with what looks like a unicorn horn coming out in the blue, and then some sugared chocolate sweets as well. So these are just my general observation and statements based on one picture. If you're completing a product analysis from something in front of you, then you can go one step further and complete a taste test as part of the product analysis. You could even go on to complete a product analysis based on the packaging that the item arrived in. Something you do need to do is make sure that you justify your points. So when you're making a statement, for example, the cake is made from butter icing, you need to say where you can see that and how you know that. And that's true with all of the other Access FM headings. Everything should be written in full sentences using as descriptive language as you can.